Thanks for that. Problem solver. I didn't have to do the limbo. All right. We've still got a few rock stars left, guys. So it just gets better and better. Um, I've got Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner standing by here. I just had him on the air. We were just talking about what this administration has done beyond what it has attempted to do by strong arming policy through Congress. Because when it can't get something through Congress, even with control of the House, when the House was under control of the Democrats, led by that sharp knife Nancy Pelosi, even when they couldn't get Barack Obama couldn't get the Democrats to sign on to policies the Democrats themselves championed in elections, championed in campaigns. And one of them was cap and trade. Or is Congressman Sensenbrenner, he's probably already saying, why doesn't she call it cap and tax? Well, that's what Congressman Sensenbrenner called it, cap and tax. Couldn't get cap and tax through because everybody realized that a carbon tax was going to kill off whatever was left still breathing in this economy. So they said no. So what did the Obama administration do? Teed up the EPA to impose greenhouse gas caps. And they just announced it last week. Just what they were going to do with regard to greenhouse gas emissions. Well, what it's going to do, since we're in Wisconsin, and it's really freaking cold here in the wintertime, it's going to make our costs explode. It's going to make it harder for us not only to heat our houses, it's going to make it harder for us to afford food, to afford transportation, to afford the cost of goods. Because remember, all costs of energy are passed along into every single thing we buy, every single thing we consume, every single thing we do. Jim Sensenbrenner, more than just about anybody else in Congress, has been the opponent of these kinds of insane, inane regulatory assaults on our way of life. This is a knife to the heart of the economy via regulation, and they know it, and they admit that it will do nothing to solve planetary global warming, and it will do nothing to improve our renewable portfolio. It will do nothing to get us off our addiction to coal or our addiction to oil or our addiction to whatever else. I think they're addicted to crack. It will do nothing, and they admit it. Congressman Sensenbrenner is leading the charge again to stop the assault. And this is what he has done since he has been in Congress. It's why we love that he still is there, and he's one of our Wisconsin rock stars, and he insists on taking up some of the harder fights, because a lot of Republicans, they thought they were bigger fish to fry than energy. And now we know just how important it is. He's done a whole bunch of other stuff. He led the charge on the Patriot Act. I mean, he did a whole bunch of, improved the Amber Alert system, did a whole bunch for victims' rights. But I got to tell you what I most appreciate him for is that he actually may return some sanity to the debate over energy in this country. And he is, where is he? Where are you? There you are. Come up here. Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner.
Thanks, Vicki. I really approach being called a rock star with some fear and trepidation because in 2006, I was named the second worst congressman in the country by Rolling Stone magazine, and I'm proud of that. And you want to know what got me that honor? I introduced a bill to have a mandatory prison sentence for people who tried to recruit those to the drug trade within 1,000 feet of a rehabilitation house. I stand by that, and I think the American people want to have that common sense. But I'm here as one of those who's talking about the fire Barack Obama team. We've heard from Governor Romney, we've heard from Reince, and I think this is the weekend where we can step back from the recall election and look at the next election, which is going to be just as important in terms of the direction our country will take. Whenever a president of the United States seeks a second term, he ought to be forced to run on his record. So let's look at Barack Obama's record. First, let's talk about jobs. When Barack Obama took office, the unemployment rate was below 8%. He went and said, pass my stimulus to prevent the unemployment rate from getting to 8%. He was wrong. It hit 10%. It's gone down a little bit, but the reason it's gone down a little bit is that unemployment figures have never counted people who have given up looking for a job as unemployed. And then let's look at the fact that he was talking about cutting the deficit in half. The last year of the Bush administration, the deficit was approximately $400 billion. Still too much in the opinion of most of us, but we've now had 3 deficit budgets that have been presented by President Obama that are over $1 trillion and sometimes way over $1 trillion. And all of that has to be represented in debt which accumulates in piles one on top of the other. The national debt when Bush left office was less than $10 trillion. Now in 3 years it is over $15 trillion. And the budgets that the president has sent to Congress have proposed doubling the national debt in 10 years, meaning Barack Obama wants us to go more in debt than his 43 predecessors combined, from George Washington to George W. Bush. Nobody has ever borrowed themselves rich. And then we look at the issue of energy. When Barack Obama took office, the average price of regular gas in this country was $1.85. We all know what it is now. It's over $4 and rising. This is one of the few things that Barack Obama can't blame George Bush for, because it was working at the end of the Bush presidency, and now we're paying more. And it really shouldn't surprise anybody, because he appointed a Secretary of Energy in Stephen Chu, who before the election said he wanted U.S. gas prices to reach the level of European gas prices. And he did not go back on that statement, despite being asked repeatedly by me and others until about a week and a half ago. Now, I think he might be getting his wish, and the one thing that could put our fragile recovery back into recession is all of this money that is being taken out of consumers' pockets to have to pay for the fuel that they need to get to work and to do their errands. And one thing that is all throughout the Obama administration is government control. Government control over everything. Obamacare is government control over health care. The EPA is government control over everything that Congress has rejected, even a Democrat Congress has rejected. We've had czars that have been given the opportunity without any accountability to Congress or the American people to control practically everything else. And Obama has had more czars than ever ruled Russia for 300 years. He's taken over the banks through Dodd-Frank, and he's taken over student loans because he wanted to get those big bad banks out of the business, and interest rates have generally gone up. Now, every one of the 4 people who are currently in our race for president, Mitt Romney, Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, and Ron Paul, are good men. Every one of them will make a heck of a better president than Barack Obama. And I guess I can say the same thing of the people who are running for the U.S. Senate in our state. But in order to get any of them into office, no matter who we have backed, who has not won the nomination, no matter how we feel strongly that our preferred candidate is much better than the person who won, unless we get together and unite behind the nominee, whether it's for president or Senate, we are going to end up being a party to the re-election of Barack Obama and the election of Tammy Baldwin, one of the most liberal members of Congress, as our United States Senator. Every one of us as voters in this state will go to the polls next Tuesday to make a choice in the Republican presidential primary. And I think each of us ought to ask ourselves the question, number one, who would be the best president if elected? And number two, who is the most electable of the candidates that will be on our ballot next Tuesday? I've already voted, and I voted by absentee. And I've looked at all of the candidates and assessed them by these two criteria. And I want to tell you tonight that I have cast my ballot for Mitt Romney for president. Now, having said that, I respect the other three who are major candidates. I know them all. I have worked with them all because they've all been members of the House of Representatives and United States Senators. But we have to look toward the future. We have to look toward winning. And we have to look toward having somebody in these important offices that have done what Scott Walker has done, what Paul Ryan has done, and what I've tried to do, and that is to live up to our promises and to say what you hear is what you get. We don't get that out of the White House. We don't get that out of the Democrats in Congress or the Democrats in the state legislature. There is a sharp difference between the two parties and the people we run, and if we are able to tell the truth and to show what the difference is, we will win. And all of us here in this room are committed to this. God bless you all, and God bless America.